Alright, so now we've got the box done. The next step is to put in the actual ducting. So I didn't go too complex on the system here. I've got the one T-junction that's the ducting is going to connect to up on the wall, and one side is going to drive through the wall and through the next wall into the chicken coop. And on this end, I've just put a little grill, just so it still has some output into the front half of the barn here. And it's easy enough to pop off when we expand and send heating into other new sections as we redesign the front half of the barn here. And then I've got the boot to connect into the chicken stall through the wall there, as well as the grill. For the ducting itself, I've got this nice flexi ducting. It is insulated so that it'll keep the heat in even in the cold winter weather, with a 4-inch duct in the middle. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I got some holes to drill in the walls, and yeah, so that's pretty much what I've got going on here. So I'm just going to get started. So after the ease with which of getting that planting box done, first step here already has a big problem in it. I had guesstimated, I didn't actually use the sensor, which I should have, but I guesstimated about a 2x4's width from the ceiling, and of course it was wrong. They've either doubled it or used a larger beam here, and so a third of my hole is useless because there's a beam here. That's frustrating. I was hoping to get it a little higher through the wall at this point, so it'd just be neater and tighter to the ceiling and not have as much play. Oh well. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this a little bit. I just have a bigger hole in the wall basically, and yeah, just do that because I want it to still be a straight line running across. I'm gonna have to drop it down farther. So I guess what I'll do is I'll just pump in another one right here and just have a double size hole, I guess. But it's a frustrating start to today, especially after how smoothly it went yesterday. Oh well. Well, this has worked out really well. I just about 5 to 8 feet to spare here, which is just about perfect. So with this stuff, it's pretty easy. You just get it to the length you need, and then you cut through just using a regular X-Acto knife or box cutter blade to cut through the insulation and the plastic, and then you just need some wire cutters to cut the spiral wire in the middle. To the size you need. I've given myself a little bit of slack just because the one cut I did earlier was a little bit tight. It still fit, but don't need it to be any tighter than we need to. So getting everything else lined up and cut here has gone really smoothly. I'm really happy with how this part of the project has gone. This is the part of the project that I was most worried about because it's thing I have the absolute least experience with. And it's come through like, you know, in less than a single day, like a single full day's of worth of work in it. And we're already getting to the finish point. Where are we? Okay, so and I'm really happy with how it's come together, even with the one minor problem. Well, I mean, two little minor things that didn't quite go right. With you know, I should have had a different takeoff, or I could have actually ended up using the top takeoff on the box there if I had just cut things differently. You know, once I got the box in place and actually attached, I had to actually cut off more wood from the wall, and I didn't even think about that as I was making it. So, you know, I have less than an arm length of ducting left from this, but still, you know, it was on sale and everything too, and insulated. It was just about perfect. And then yeah, so I could have put that takeoff on the top of the box after I removed the wood from the wall to get the box attached. And I know you don't normally need to attach a plenum right to the furnace, but in this case, the way it was sitting and everything, I had to get some screws in just to hold it in place. And I was worried about air pressure loss and everything, but that doesn't seem to be an issue. Sorry for the lighting in here, I've just got so much space. Anyway, connecting this thing is pretty easy. You just pull the insulation back to show the hose, and then you put the hose over the connecting point and just put some duct tape, a couple of rounds of duct tape, and then some strapping. I didn't buy metal strapping just because I wasn't sure with the insulation what size I needed, but zap straps will do just fine as long as they're rated for the heat. And so that's what I've got. I've got ones that are rated for far more than the heat this thing is going to be putting out, so it's not going to be an issue. I'm just going to tape this up here just so it doesn't keep unraveling. And then it's just a matter of slipping this over top here and taping it into place. Just sometimes easier said than done just to get the wire over and not, you know, put up in the plastic of the duct. But yeah, as I was looking up the ducting and everything, like even finding the duct supplies and everything just on their own here seems to be pretty hard. You know, they'll have bits and pieces. The one hardware store in town had quite a bit. And there's, you know, other construction hardware stores and stuff around. Not like Home Depot or anything, like they didn't have anything more than this. But most of the ducting you can buy in a retail hardware store around here seems to be just for like dryer vents and exhausts. Like that's it. For the most part, that seems to be the intention for most of it. If you're doing something like this, I guess I want you to be calling up someone who does this for a living with a ticket and everything to come do it for you. I mean, which is fine and all well and good. I'm all for supporting the trades, but for a small project like this, that would be cost prohibitive. And yeah, so just a couple of rounds of duct tape. If I get a little tighter, I will. The insulation likes to slide back down here. Again, probably overkill, but whatever. So, and again, I was just using the zap straps that I had from doing other fencing projects and stuff, like putting in the chicken mesh originally in kind of that temporary coop. So I had a supply here. I don't have one that's quite big enough to really wrap around here without inhibiting the airflow, but you can connect two together, and that's what I'm doing. I've got the smaller one and the larger one. Just get it zipped on so it's tight. And then just wrap it around to give you a really good solid finish to it here. So it's not gonna slip off easily. I'll just trim that just so it's not in the way. And then it's just pull the insulation back down and tape it into place. And then we're ready to plug this bad boy in and get the vent cover put on the outside, and fire it up and see if my rad plan here works properly. Honestly, I was expecting this to take a lot more time as far as the build and everything like that once I got it all together, and I'm really happy that it's come through this easily. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to get this through there, and then I'm going to screw this, because I've got a top board there, a top plate, and a stud, so I can screw it in nice and tight, and then it's not going to move at all, like when the air starts blowing or anything like that. So it's going to stay nice and tight there, so I'm going to screw that into place, put the shield on it, and then I'll come back in here and just support this along the way here with more strapping to hold it in place, and that should make it nice and tight, and not have it falling down in the way, and because there's a door right here to get into the water pump and everything. So I want to be able to still open that door, so hopefully I don't have, hopefully it's not going to interfere with it. It's going to be pretty close, but I think I'm going to be okay. I'll just have to get it all put together and find out. So I'm just going to shove this up here, and we'll screw it in on the other side and get the plate put on and see how it goes, hey? Oh yeah, that'll be fine for clearance on the door. Alright, so I'll just get over the other side and screw that into place. Hey everybody. So it's been a couple of days now since I did my ducting, and I wanted it to run a little bit and see how it works, and yeah, it turns out it didn't work so well, and it's not really the ducting fault. I think it's just more my fault, because with all of this, like the furnace is kind of open at the top, and it's in a really dirty, dusty, spider webby place. And I did all this cleaning on it, but I cleaned up the space around it as I was working, but I hadn't actually done any maintenance or cleaning on the furnace itself. And open at the top there is the motor and blower fan that pushes the air. And so I'm assuming some dirt or something got in it, or it just hadn't been lubricated properly, because I hadn't done it yet, and it's an old beat up furnace, and I was just, it was working, so I didn't, I fell into the if it ain't broke don't fix it kind of thing, and didn't do any maintenance on it before I actually started adding the stress of blowing into the pipes and everything. So something sparked, and there was apparently, well, here, let me show you. So if you can see in there, that boy caught on fire. So the drive motor and the fan are, covered in char. All the wiring in there is charred and melted. the drive belt for the fan is all that ash on the floor there. So that really didn't work out the way we wanted. So, I mean, it's better that it happened the way it did, honestly, because it didn't spread or anything. That could have lit up this whole dry wooden barn. So we're incredibly lucky that it wasn't worse than just, a blown out motor and fan. Now, fortunately, even though this unit is old, I was able to source parts and everything to replace it. They are on order. So that's what I'm going to do because, spending the $500 for that is a lot cheaper than spending, $2,000 for like a mini split system, which would also need electrical work done, or, $3,000 to $6,000 to get a whole new furnace. So, it's a matter of make do as best you can with what you have. And so, the order's in and it's just a matter of waiting for it to get shipped out. Hopefully it'll only take a couple of days. And then I get to figure out how to take this thing completely apart and access where I need to swap everything apart. Which again is going to be a fun learning experience, and it's definitely a mistake I'm not going to be making again. Because I've never, until we owned this place, I've never owned a place that, I needed to actually take care of the furnace or the air ducting systems or anything like that. So it's, I'm 40 years old here, well, 44. And, I've never had to do this sort of maintenance stuff in my house before. So it's not, it's a bit of a learning curve. So anyway, had to, once I discovered that, and then we're kind of breaking down, like, how do we replace it? Do we do something like a, more energy efficient, like a mini split? Or do we, not use it at all? Or, if the goal is to have the coop and the front of the barn heated to better service our laying flock and in the future, our brooding center for, for our laying flock and our meat birds, then, we need to have heating here. So then it's like, how much do we want to spend and how much can we spend? And, we really can't afford to spend that much right now. So it's just a matter of making the best use of what we've already got. Now, the rest of the furnace works fine. I mean, the gas wasn't affected. It's all on the bottom of it. So the burners and everything, they're fine. They aren't affected. They were nowhere near what I assume was just a quick little flare up and burn and, melt of the wires and the drive belt. And then that was it. And, it worked for a day or two. So, like that evening that I first finished off after I, got the vents put in and everything and turned it on and it was working. I wasn't getting great air pressure into the front room, but it's also blowing back a lot around the edges of the box. And that was something I was going to look to seal up. So then I went to, didn't do anything the next day because we were just busy with other, life stuff. And then the day after, I came in and started, looking to patch it up and work on it some more and, tweak the problems that I was seeing with it. Because again, like, it's just a plenum box that I built sitting there in front of the thing with nothing sealing it. And it was, with the pressure of the ducting system on it, it was blowing back a lot of air around the edges. So I was going to seal that up and see if I can make it better to get the air pressure coming out the pipe better. And I went to turn it on and nothing was working. So anyway, that's when I came in and discovered that, I was looking at it and turning it on and the fan wasn't going on. Like, the burners were lighting up and everything. It was getting hot. So I'm like, well, I have to, I pulled in everything and started cleaning it, looking at it, and then realized it was covered in ash. Figured out how to open up panels to actually see into that box. And yeah, you saw what it was like. So anyway, we've sourced what we need to source. It really stressed me out yesterday. Going back to the mental health bit, it was like I was right back where I was a few months ago. But I was able to find a way through it rather than sit there for 4 days being completely useless. So, yay. And yeah, so, parts are ordered and will show me figuring out how to open up this bad boy and get to it. Part of the problem is where you need to do all the work, they've squished it right, like when they laid it in here, they didn't do anything with the existing gas piping. So they just lined it up with this and squeezed it in there without thinking about how you have to access it to do any maintenance on it. So what I might do is I might just open up this entire wall, and it's just so I have access to the whole thing, or at least put in, you know, a door or like a closet door kind of thing on the wall that we can get in there and you know, take off that front panel and you know, do this maintenance work on a yearly basis type of thing. So I haven't decided what we're going to do with that. I mean, we might just take out this entire wall even and just move it back a little bit. That might be the best course. But, you know, we'll deal with that when we get there. Yeah, so anyway, that's where we stand with the heating. And yeah, so next video about, or next bit about this, I guess, will be when I get the parts. When I rip it open, I'm probably going to have to disconnect it from the gas. At least, you know, the shutoff is right there, so it's easy enough to shut it off and unscrew it so that I can move the thing away from the wall and get into it. Because, yeah, either that or it's cut, you know, into the wall. And, yeah, that's fun. I've already done enough damage to that wall. All right, so I'm going to keep working on other stuff. We'll wait for that to happen, and we will, you know, I'll update you once we get to there.